I'm Stephen Englander, I'm sure you know, and we're here on my live show, my Thursday night at 7 o'clock live show. Now, usually I start off with some items of news and maybe have a little rant about something in general, but what's interesting is that during the week, I get emails of people sending me questions or telling me how nice my hair looks, and that type of thing, and so I'll start with a question because it's sort of in line with some conversations I've been having recently, and it's from a Sandra in London, and she's saying, how can an accountant be so anti-capitalistic? And I think she's referring to me, but I'm not anti-capitalistic. I'm probably one of the biggest capitalists out there. I'm a big believer in business. If it was up to me, everybody would own a business, and it's not just because I'm an accountant and that's how I make my living. It's because I believe that having a business is a great way to live for people. But I'm not anti-capitalistic. I'm not anti-capital. I'm not anti-business. I'm not anti any of it. I just don't like the way big business often operates. I think they can be quite insidiously underhanded, and I think they give they take unfair advantage. I mean, just look at the other day, looking at even, I shouldn't mention places like Tesco's and Aldi and Sainsbury's and all the big supermarkets, but have I got any faith in any of them? I don't. I think if they could get away with selling poison to make a bit of extra money and they wouldn't lose customers and the government would have a go at them, I think they'd do it. I don't think they give a damn about any of us. I think they just do what needs to be done. And I think I don't like the manipulation to believe that they're actually giving us something good, because I don't think big business is like that. I mean, for instance, I think where did I hear that there's what they called it is Virgin Wine. I think they've just floated for something like £100 million or $100 million. I think, wow, good luck to them. But it's not quite like that, because I don't believe for a minute that Virgin Wine, I think they bought Wines Direct and probably a whole other load of people and businesses. I don't think they have any passion or any real insight, or I don't think they really care about the wine, about the wine business, or about what they're doing. I think it's a manipulation to make money out of it. It's like saying, well, I'm not going to spend 20 years learning the wine business and producing top quality brands and everything. I think they've just come along, jumped in, put a brand on it and said, hey, let's float. So they're playing a game they're not playing a game. The whole goal is to just get floated and make money. I mean, it's nothing, that's the way it works. It's not hurting anybody, then fine, but they do hurt people, and the products are never as good as you think. And I personally don't drink wine. I don't drink at all. But if I did, I'd rather go to a local wine merchant that knows his stuff and can tell me what's what and what I might like, and even let me taste some things. I mean, I often think of starting to drink just to blot out all the crap in my life. But but you get my point. You see where I'm coming from, and I just don't like the manipulation of the markets. I don't like the way people approach. I mean, just the other day, I'm going on my phone and I'm looking on the internet, and I get this email from the bank, from a bank, and the bank comes back to me, and it's telling me that I can be an exclusive member of this new club, this new facility they've got. And it reminded me of going back 35 years when I was with a bank, and they phoned me to say I could have this Black American Express card. And I thought, okay, thank you. And then I got a letter explaining the benefits of having this card. And it turned out that it was an exclusive membership, and it wouldn't cost me any more than I was paying for the green American Express card, but it would give me unlimited credit. I mean, I could literally go and buy a Ferrari on the card. I mean, I'd have to pay for it within 30 days, but I could have that. So it was a bit of exclusivity. And whoops, I just hit the microphone. And this bank sent me this. But what they were saying is this exclusive club allowed me to put £1,500 into what was effectively a prepaid credit card, and as long as I kept £1,500 as a balance on the account, they wouldn't charge me. Otherwise, they charged me £3 a month. And the benefit to me of becoming an exclusive member is that I get maybe £1 back every time I spend £100 or something like that. And it's just saying to me that some of the differences, the way they promote something that's empty. And, if that's what they do, that's what they do. But to me, it just annoys me, and that's why it gives me to me, after them sending that, I'm thinking, what type of bank is this? What type of people am I dealing with? And it puts me off dealing with the bank fully. You get it all the time. Everything's in big business. Everything in business is a game. It's a strategy. They've got no actual thought of the products that they're actually selling. Funny enough, I was talking before because we sat around in the studio for a bit. I mean, earlier today I was on one of my podcasts between the Spreadsheets that goes out where I interview various different people, and it's always nice to talk to people, and it puts new ideas in the frame. And today we were talking about hedge fund managers. I think in the trade they're known as scumbags, but that's only a rumour. I don't know if they are scumbags, but they seem to manipulate the markets for personal gain, not to sort of help businesses expand and grow. And there's been something that's been around. It's been of interest, and we're talking about it before, where there's a company called GameStop. And the company was making a loss, or they weren't doing that great, or they were struggling along. It's an American firm, and these hedge fund managers have come along and thought, let's have a go at this company. Let's bend the market to our will, and they've been going out there to try and devalue the shares like crazy. So why would they want to devalue shares? I think it's more so that they can then go and buy them cheap and then sell them and make a product. I think they can forward buy shares. And so this is what they've been doing. They've been hammering the company into the ground. And then all of a sudden, a load of gamers and people that are into this product, and they've sort of noticed this, and they've gone on Reddit and various sites like this, and they've been telling everybody to buy these shares. So they've actually been buying these shares, and despite what the hedge fund managers have been doing, the shares have actually increased in value tremendously. So, of course, the hedge fund managers are struggling like crazy. Wall Street's screaming because their manipulations, if they are manipulations, what do I know, haven't been working. So they're landed with these massive debt and massive money. So, is it being anti-capitalist by saying, good on the public, good on it, it's how the stock market should work, it's how business should work. People provide a product that other people want, and we all support it, not manipulate the product. But you see, there's a twist in this now, because there's a company called Robinhood that's an app for buying stocks and shares, and it's a major one, and now they've suspended trade on this company. So that's a case of like big business doing things that are possibly illegal, certainly immoral, and it doesn't look like anyone's going to win now except for Wall Street. That's why you might think I'm not a big fan of capitalism. So, but there you go. However, I've actually looked in a couple of times at flotations, and I'm wondering how floating a business can benefit you or me or anyone else. So I did a podcast with a gentleman a while ago whose company specialises in floating smaller firms. So if it's, I'm thinking maybe as an experiment, go down the process with my own company to see how it works. And what do you think of that? Do you want to buy shares in Accounts Direct? But it's just something out there. And I think there's a lot to be said for growing a business sensibly. I mean, if my business grows, honestly, it's because I'm here, certainly before COVID, day in, day out working, and so's my team. It's what everybody does, and that's what you do. And I think that businesses, smaller business, do get a raw deal. I do. I think most small business owners work harder, longer hours, and for a longer period of time. I think they take more risk, more commitment than most people. But I was on a podcast with a gentleman the other day called Keith McCoy. Actually, he's a finance broker, and he doesn't understand it, because he was also saying that if you're self-employed, you've got less chance of being approved for a mortgage than if you've got a job. And yet, and I've always wondered this, going back 30, 40 years, I've wondered why this is the case. If you've got a business, you're more likely to fight to keep hold of what you've got, because if you run into trouble, it's not just your house you lose. You've got a business, you've got stock, you've got assets, and everything's all tied up to a business. And it also, smaller businesses, they have more chance of increasing income, because it's not just a case of if you lose your job, oh, I can get another one. It's not always as easy as that. But if you've got a business, you can always find other income streams. Or sometimes it's not a case of replacing all your income, it's just a case of replacing some of it. And most businesses, when they do have difficulties and they do overcome them, they seem to go from strength to strength. So you learn where the problem lies, and then you grow. I mean, there's a lot of people that will take advantage and manipulate systems. But, you know, at the end of the day, this is the world we live in, so we just have to protect ourselves and keep an eye on what's going on. There's another news item which I find it, I don't know what I find it actually, but it's with Debenhams. They've been bought by Boohoo at £55 million. So, you know, this is a company that's got a rather checkered trading history of really bad management, if we can say that. That's been bankrupt. That is bankrupt. That's gone. But they're paying, this Boohoo are paying £55 million. And this is my point. Okay, it's a good business strategy. Why is it a good business strategy? It's a good business strategy because they're buying a brand that is well respected despite it losing money, and the brand has other brands, and it still has an international following. So what they've done is they say, right, I don't want the shop, I don't want the shops, I don't want the stores, I don't want all that icky stuff with rent and rates and electricity and maintenance and everything else. And we don't want that other icky stuff that employs people. So we don't want shop assistants, and we don't want warehouse managers, and we don't want delivery people. We don't want any of that. We just want the brand. So they'll probably do very, very well out of it. But with Debenhams, there's blood and sweat in building a business going back decades. Many, many years. It's been around, I can't remember when it even started, but it must be 100 years ago. And so they've taken everything that business built and have only taken the good things. So does that reflect good business, or is it parasitical? Is it vulture? I don't know. But remember, if you're in business, you're building your brand, you're building your name on the back of hard work and sweat and knowing what your business is. So if you're going to jump in on a good, strong brand, it's because you're that wine expert that's selling a good, strong business, because you've got good customers that you care about and you're selling good wine. And that's been my experience mainly of small businesses. I don't think small businesses, like big businesses, go out there to try and manipulate the labelling. You know, if you say you can't have it in blue because it's illegal, well, they do it as slight blue, or they're doing so anything to get around the rules. And I don't think that's the spirit of what we should be in business. And honestly, it doesn't have stopped me wanting to go into these big firms, but because of you guys out there, I've got to go into Tesco's, because you're not out there with your cheese shops and your wine shops and your cobblers and your specialist shoe shops. You've got to get out there. Another thing to look at as well with this new world we're living in is that we're online. Think about it this way. If a member of the public is looking for tins of beans, they don't have to just go to Tesco's. It's just as easy for them to go to your shop, because now you're competing with them. So if you've got your own brand in beans and people learn that this is John from the shop from down the road, then I, for one, would give you the business. I just, but we don't have a lot of choice out there. So hopefully more and more of you guys will get the hang of being online and get the hang of doing it the right way. And you can have your bricks and mortar shop as storage or as a showroom, as your flagship, so to speak. So that's me having a little rant. Businesses are, I love dealing with small businesses. I'm not a big fan of the big stores, but only because I feel every time I walk in, I'm being cheated in some way. What would I do with Tesco's? I'd turn them into a big market centre. So I'd say that guy's got a food stand, that guy's got a cheese stand, that guy's got a shoe stand. That's what I do. Give everybody a chance. So incidentally, sorry, I'm just going to change the subject for a minute, because it's something that is just coming to mind. Dealing with big firms, dealing with councils, dealing with all sorts. I've got a client. I mean, if they're watching, you'll know I'm talking about you, but I'm not going to mention any names. That they operate a business, and we've just had a little bit of a fight with the council, who are initiating bailiffs and repossessions and all sorts of things on their premises, the mistake is that the council have got the wrong address. So they've mixed up the clients with someone else, and we've had murder trying to put that right. So it's all the time. It's a nightmare fighting with these guys, and you know, I know a lot of people haven't got this strength or the energy or even the resources to keep fighting these things. So you know, you're not alone if you are in this type of thing. Incidentally, while we're on that topic, I know a lot of people have been struggling a bit because of COVID and whatnot. There's been some rulings against, this was last week, but I can't remember whether I mentioned it or not, where the insurance companies, where you've got insurance for insuring against loss of profits or even loss of turnover or business, you know, you can't trade. It's been overturned, all the insurance companies' objections, and you might have a claim on your insurance policies. So do check whether you're insured for loss of profits or business interruption or that type of thing. It's often included in insurance policies, so you know, do have a look at that. We haven't really been interrupted that much, so I can't claim anything, but I never get to claim anything anyway. So let me cross that out because I mentioned that, and I mentioned that. Now, there's another thing with that you've got to be careful of. Just in normal business terms, it doesn't really apply to retail, but it does apply to people that give credit. If you want to sort of reduce risk, there's no reason why you can't have these debts insured. So if you're supplying goods and services, then you can actually insure the invoice value. So it's not that expensive. It works out at a few pounds on every invoice. So if you do feel that your debtors are growing and the length of time between giving the service or the products is getting longer, then maybe have a look at debt insurance. I know some very good companies that pay literally the day after the debt should have been due and it hasn't been paid. So there are little bits you can help with. Now, and I know we're at tax return time. I know that HMRC have given us an extra month to get things filed, which is good. I've told my staff and my teams not to tell anyone, because if we tell them that they've got an extra month, then this time next month we'll be looking at the last minute again. So do get your tax returns in. But while we're getting the tax returns in, and we've completed the tax returns, why don't we do a review of your taxes and your income? Because I think everybody should do this every year. These days, the big savings in tax probably aren't as much as they used to be, but it's worth investigating. It's worth having a look at your tax returns and saying, you know, how are you spending money, what savings, what investments are you making. A lot of tax savings are about the way you invest money or the way you spend money, rather than the way you receive money. But there's you know, there's a little bit of everything that we can just sit there and go through a review. You don't even need to be a clientele. If you let us know, I'll get a review sorted for you. It takes about 20 minutes, and we just get some basic ideas we can explore. Most of the time, there's not a lot we can find, but you know, the odd one, it's worth doing. It's, you know, and even if we don't find it this year, maybe we can plan for next year. Because so, you know, every little bit helps. So, you know, and especially as, you know, I don't think HMRC are going to be jumping in and putting taxes up too quickly, because they have been desperately trying to help everybody. But there's got to be a time when they've got to fill up those little piggy banks again, and just in case there's another problem like this. So now we're looking at, so I've done that, I've mentioned that. I don't know if anybody ever has any problems with tribunals and courts, because this is another area where I feel, and my experience is that small firms do get a raw deal, because quite often a judge and the court system will rule against the person that's not as well prepared, and in sometimes, even if you are very well prepared, they'll rule in favour of the weaker party. So it's not, I mean, I don't have a lot of faith in the court systems. You know, it's better than I've seen in other countries, but I still don't have faith in it. As you know, one of the biggest problems when I was studying a little bit of law was the first thing we looked at was who are the magistrates, and they're basically, you know, middle class, white, fairly comfortable and not really as in touch with everyday problems and business problems. I mean, I know some magistrates that know nothing about business at all, and yet they're presiding over these things, even though they do get advised. So you really do have to keep iron tight records and make sure that before you get into a problem with, if you're suing someone or being sued, make sure that your documentation is right. And remember that even the government agents and councils are not always as efficient, but they've got a lot more power, they've got a lot more strength. So just do get your paperwork right. Don't become a victim of a solicitor that's milking you, and on the other hand, you know, don't fall foul because you think you can go into court and talk a good story and they'll listen to you. Make sure that all your documentation is right before you get down there. And sometimes, you know, I hate to say this, but sometimes, and I've done it in the past, I've weighed up whether it's worth the hassle of pursuing something or not, and just wiping your mouth and paying it or walking away from it, because it just takes life away from you. But, you know, these are just my opinions, and who can say what. If you do have any stories, I'd love to hear from people who have got horror stories with a big business or with the courts or with anything, you know, even if it's your fault, you know, do let me know about it. The other thing to always look at is it's sort of like on the same way as getting your paperwork right. And while we're talking about legal stuff, maybe have a look at wills as well, because if anything happens to you and you don't have a will, you could end up in your people you want to leave the money to, or whatever assets you've got, might not get it, and it could spend years in probate, and he could end up in the hands of the government. It's real horror stories. Do get a will sorted. I don't do wills. I'm an accountant, but I do know people that will help. Or if you've got your own people, then you know, please do look at that. It's not even a case of, you know, getting older now, because there's so much out there like COVID and stuff, and you might want to look at some insurance as well, some life insurance. I mean, you're more likely to get ill and not being able to work than you are to die, but you could do with some cover, you know. I mean, have you heard me? I sound like a bleeding salesman. I sound like an insurance salesman, but I'm not. I'm just trying to be a bit of concerned for you. So we're coming to the end of what I've been talking about. I've been talking all day, and you can probably hear my voice is going a bit. I will tell you back onto, you know, guarding your business and building a business on solid foundations. I didn't know this guy, but he was a sort of friend of a friend, and I heard the story. And he was selling leather jackets on Amazon. And this is why I don't like places like Amazon, although this wasn't just about Amazon. And what happened was he was selling these really nice jackets, and they were printed with all these sorts of great designs. And he was doing really well. And he went on Amazon, and all of a sudden he started losing sales. You know, he'd been going for years, and within 18 months, he'd gone from selling X to selling nothing. And it put him out of business. And what had happened was that the people that were supplying him, the manufacturers, were selling online direct themselves. So they cut him out. He didn't need to be there. So do watch the business you're in and make sure you move with the times. So you know, it's always better to sell your own products and your own brands. But apparently, Amazon had also started selling these jackets because they monitor what's being sold. So they brought out their own brands selling this type of jacket thing. So do bear that in mind. You can't trust big business. So how you can say I'm not ranting. I'm not being I'm not anti-capitalist. So I'm just going to have a look at a couple of questions, because we're getting that time where the slot's finishing and you'll have to go and watch Coronation Street. Who we got here? My marketing isn't working, from John Moore near Southampton. What do you do? Well, if your marketing is not working, you sort of got to look at, is it your marketing or is it your product? It's a very vague question, that, and this is why I have people joining my my consulting groups. I mean, we've got I think it's about 1,500 people in it now. So if you want to join one of our groups, you can talk about what your what the problem might be. I mean, ultimately, if a product solves a problem, then there shouldn't be too much of a problem selling it. So is it perhaps ask yourself what problem, what solution does your product provide, and then maybe sort of make sure that message is going across. But in the meantime, if you do want to join one of our groups, just go to our Facebook account on the Better Business Challenge, and just literally sign on to the account, and then you'll be directed to where to go, and we'll give you your own consultant to, you know, plus other people in the group. So if you want to give advice or receive advice, it's a good place to go. So anyway, my last question here, just before we sign off, is Mike from, is it Gilchrist? Because this is handwritten. How did you come to sell accountancy services? Oh, me, how did I sell? How did I go into an accountant? Well, it was many years ago, and I actually used to be a wholesaler. I used to be an importer wholesaler, and I used to sell fast-moving consumer goods. We used to supply, in those days it was pound shops, now it's 50p shops. Nowadays it's pound shops and discounted shops, and that's what I used to do. And we ended up going bankrupt for many reasons, and I'll tell you how and why if you really want to know. But I thought after that, after doing other things like cleaning carpets and selling kitchens and all sorts of things, I thought I don't want to work anymore. You know, my life's of work is finished. So I went back to study and I became an accountant and just put my feet up. And that's what I've done. So, you know, so if you want to do nothing, if you don't want to work, if you want to just sleep most of the time, you know, walk around, you know, like a pompous whatever, become an accountant and become like me. And then you can have your own podcast show. Anyway, thank you very much for joining me tonight. As always, I'm Stephen Englander. And if you do have any business problems, or you're an existing client, you've got any problems or anything you want to talk about, any business ideas, or you want to get involved with the show, or you want to get involved with one of our groups, by all means, just drop me an email and I'll be in touch. Anyway, have a lovely week, and I'll see you next Thursday. Night, night.